Hello? Hello? Okay, we're good. We're live. Alright, so I'm Noah.
Hey, what's happening, dudes? It's Henry.
Alright, and so we have our politics and music podcast. This is actually technically podcast number 3.
Number 3.
Even though our last podcast it says like number 1 or something like that. We're just starting out, so we have a little bit of weirdness in terms of which podcast we're on. We're on number 3. We had our first podcast was different. Anyway, so Dapique is the platform. They let us put out podcasts about news and stuff.
Where we just sort of mumble on about the crazy cool stuff that we think we should talk about for the week. So we're starting sort of a new premise this week, or a new format where we both talk about 5 topics each. So we select the 5 topics and then we just go into them, whether or not the other person knows about them or not. So yeah, you want to get started here?
Alright, let's start.
Alright, so topic number 1, the one thing that's dominating the news in this week of August the 31st, 2018, the death of Senator John McCain, right?
Yeah. So too bad, so sad. That's what I have to say about that.
Too bad, so sad. The nation lost
in quotes, maverick.
A maverick, yeah. I do want to make the distinction, though, that he was a prisoner of war, unlike what President Trump has said, that he wasn't a hero.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's 5 years in a camp is substantial, I would say. At the very least for that, like, sure, we'll give him that one. But
yeah, he's okay. So yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He definitely did his part, and we're very grateful that he went and fought in this completely bullshit war that didn't need to happen. But he didn't know at the time, and nobody knew at the time. And I don't know if he was drafted or he signed up. I don't know that much detail about his life.
Yeah, like family or parents, like tradition or whatever.
Yeah.
I read that he wasn't even that there was something that might not be giving him enough credit, but it was something about like he didn't know what he was going into or really why, but he knew that it was the right thing to do.
Okay, yeah. So I mean,
okay, fair enough.
So that's cool. we all respect him for that. The thing that I think is not getting covered enough, especially on the news outlets that are mainstream and thought of as more left. I mean, everyone's talking about how great of a person he was, a maverick, they say, all this other stuff, just simply because he voted nay on this healthcare debacle that we got into last year.
Oh, that was whack. Yeah. I was there actually in the gallery for that night. It was like, that was crazy. However, as you're saying,
that must have been mad hype.
It was crazy. There's people protesting.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think to be honest, like, dude was a butthole, seriously, and he never met a war he didn't like. He voted with Trump for the majority of everything he ever voted on, even though he was supposed to like not be that into Trump. He sort of was, economically speaking and domestically speaking.
So he's earned the name Maverick, but ultimately he's a Republican still, or was a Republican.
Yeah, he's a Republican, and to be honest, this is just my opinion, not to speak ill of the dead, but I do think that it's a little bit cowardly that the fact that he's really against torture because he was tortured, but he loves dropping bombs, which he's never been on the receiving end of. So it's sort of like, okay, you really hate this thing because it happened to you.
Oof.
He went against a lot of his colleagues with the torture thing, and we all love the fact that he was anti-torture because torture is dumb and you don't get any real information from torturing people. And on that end of the spectrum, he was great. I just think it's cowardly, and I think all these other Republicans are, cowardly because they really don't take action on these issues that are affecting people's lives until it affects their own life. And to me, that's just That's bullshit.
Like the healthcare vote.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. The
It's
healthcare vote.
Fair enough. Okay. The other thing too that I would say about that is, yeah, I mean, looking at sort of the Iraq War, this is a tough one. But oh man, see, I was gonna make a big point here. But well, I was gonna say, like, you said, like, in the moment he was fighting in the Vietnam War, but nobody really knew what was going on. I was thinking, like, in the way that you would vote. So he was the senator during, like, the Iraq War. And whenever these votes would come into, you know, the whole UN stuff and all, are we going to go in and invade and all that stuff? Did he know? Maybe.
I think he probably knew. I think they all knew. Or if he didn't know, it was willful ignorance. He didn't want to know. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about Yemen. He didn't care about Libya. Oh, I got to turn the volume off. That's our timer for our first topic, so we're going to move right on.
Okay, cool. That was our timer. John McCain. We are based in Washington, D.C., and he is lying in state currently, actually, up at the U.S. Capitol. So we might get a chance to see a dead body, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, topic number 2. Another memorial.
Yes.
Another hero has passed on. Aretha Franklin.
Yes, Aretha Franklin is a huge personal hero of mine. I mean, she was just amazing, beautiful singer, just like incredible. I mean, for me, it really hit close to home. Not really literally hitting close to home. I didn't know Aretha Franklin or anything, but I remember one of my most memorable moments studying music in college, where I was told that, hey, in order to get better, you have to transcribe Aretha's vocals on guitar, and it completely changed up my playing in general. I was introduced to new Aretha albums.
Nice.
And just her singing is so beautiful. It's so amazing, and her story is amazing. Mm-hmm. It just everything about her. So
yeah, no doubt.
So we love Aretha. To my opinion, Aretha definitely going to be missed a lot more than John McCain. But we don't have to go backwards. We could just go forwards with this podcast.
Yeah. My whole thing was I grew up listening to Aretha Franklin. And, I mean, her music is one of the few... There's a few artists that can, like, when you listen to the music, snaps you into a mood, you know? Not everybody
Definitely.
can do. That's super hard to, like, create music that instantly snaps your listener into a mood. The only other person, honestly, that can do that for me... Well, okay, there's a few others, but I would say, like, Bob Marley primarily. Is like, you listen to Bob Marley and I'm instantly, like, chilling.
Yes.
Aretha Franklin, listen to her instantly, just like, okay, I'm fired up kind of deal. So I would say. And yeah, just absolute fucking amazing musician. I'm so glad that she was around for as long as she was, you know? Yeah, lots of love for Aretha. One more thing that we just pulled up, because we were looking at, again, another timely death. She is currently having her memorial service in Detroit as we speak. And there was a part that we saw where this guy, so he's a sociology professor of...
Michael Eric Dyson,
yeah, of Georgetown University. And he is just, pulls up this thing where he's like, and for the, so he's got the mic and he's in front of the whole audience. He's like, okay, and for the orange, I forget what the word was. It was so perfect.
Yeah.
But he was like talking about Trump.
Yeah,
and
so he's talking about Trump, and he's calling him orange-haired buffoon or something like that.
Buffoon.
I don't think that's the word he used, but it's just like...
He used alliteration on it, so he's like, a foolish, false, like, person, like a terrible tyrant, like, whatever. And he's going on with all these terms, and he's just like... You claimed, because Trump has claimed at one point that Aretha Franklin worked for him. Sure, he may have, like, paid money to have her at an event or something. But he's like, no, man. Like, Aretha Franklin did not work for you. She was there before you, and will outlast you, kind of deal.
Okay, so he called him
yeah.
a lethal liar.
Lethal liar.
And a dim-witted dictator.
Dim-witted dictator. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. I mean, she was way, way bigger than Trump, just cosmically speaking. I mean, we don't need to bring money into it, any of this stuff. We all know how Trump got his money. You know, and Aretha Franklin did something that actually added to humanity. Trump didn't do anything. What did Trump do? He slapped his name on some buildings, and then he underpaid the workers that helped build those buildings. Yeah. So he mostly took from humanity, and he took people's attention. He took a lot of he just takes and takes and takes. He took from his dad, you know, his startup funds, everything like that. So
yeah, and Aretha Franklin sure as hell, like, she did not work for Trump. Is the main
she
point
doesn't
of what he said. And
Trump paid her because she's a boss. Yeah. Okay, that's what happened.
The other thing too, I saw a slideshow of her meeting with, like, I guess I'm sure she's met with just about every single person that you can meet within music and culture and history and art and everything. Oh, yeah. But I saw a slideshow with her. It's like Aretha Franklin's best moments. This was a CNN thing, so of course they're gonna do it like presidentially, and they have like pictures. She's pictured hanging out with every single president of the U.S. like, except for Trump, and they're like, they're like, she performed at the inaugurations of all of them, with the exception of two. George H.W. Bush and Trump.
Yeah, and Trump's. I remember that whole thing, which was his inauguration ceremony. What had so many conflicts because people were calling him racist and everything else, and they couldn't find anybody who wanted to perform. So that's that stark contrast, right there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, part of me is like, Michael Eric Dyson, you could have made it a little bit less political, even though I'm a political junkie, and I think, politics is always relevant, no matter what. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, I do sort of think, it did sort of come across, like, even though it was fucking awesome what he had to say, it was sort of like a little bit soundbitey,
which is why we're talking about it.
Right, exactly.
I mean, even so. Point being, Aretha Franklin blazed through. She revolutionized the field of American music. Feminist icon, her message still rings true. And R.E.S.P.C.T. is always, that's going to be around forever. No doubt.
Best. My favorite album of hers is the church album she did. I forget what exactly it's called, but it's all gospel songs. It is fucking incredible. It's like live at whatever such and such church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we went long on that one. But we had to appropriately memorialize Aretha Franklin. While you're bringing that up, do you want me to move on to my next topic? And
yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's do this one.
So Henry had other work that he was doing, so he was unable to bring up his references. So I'm going to move on to my first topic, which is the National Endowment of Democracy.
Okay. Yes.
So Henry has a lot to talk about on this issue.
Yes.
And I love it because one of my favorite investigative journalists and just in general political personalities, his name is Max Blumenthal. He founded this website, and it's called the Gray Zone Project, and their whole business, whatever, is that they were created in 2015 to shine a journalistic light on America's state of perpetual war and its dangerous domestic repercussions. So they did this story, which I would highly recommend that everyone checks out. Maybe we'll link to it. It's on the National Endowment of Democracy, and basically what they found is that this right wing, I guess it's like a think tank or some or
Yeah, so I mean, so real quick, like definitions here. NED, the National Endowment for Democracy, was a or is a, I want to call it a organization. So it is a governmental organization. We need to pull up the correct definitions here.
Okay.
But NED was founded by
nonprofit soft power organization that was founded in 1983 with the stated goal of promoting democracy abroad.
Yes. And, okay, so a couple of things about this. Number one, it was founded by the Reagan administration.
Yes.
Okay. Number two, it is taxpayer funded.
Yes. Very important.
It's not an NGO. It is a... okay, talking about like international relations, there's hard power, soft power. It's the most soft power thing that you can do, aside from like sending in teachers and educating people. Like, it's totally like, okay, so here we go. Let's talk about it.
It's like, would you say that that's passive?
No.
Like more passive? I don't know.
Soft power is like very intentionally... Okay, hard power is we're bombing, right? So we're bombing.
Okay, military.
We're sending in strikes to achieve our nation's stated goals.
Right, national security in quotes.
Yeah.
All our national security involves offense, just in case you were wondering.
Yeah.
But that's
soft power is like soft power is education, information campaigns. I would even say maybe hacking. Maybe computer hacking now.
I guess unless if you're Congress and you consider it to be an act of war, which is completely fucking ridiculous. But go on.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So we were talking about hard power versus soft power. It's pretty clear that distinction here. When we are talking about the National Endowment for Democracy, I guess like historically speaking, this is my interpretation of what is, and the only background I have on it, aside from hearing it before, was this mini doc we saw. But my understanding is, after several decades, maybe even like since America's inception, of using hard power to achieve their political gains, their political gains, they had to switch it up. So you can no longer go in. You can't forcefully assassinate. So CIA can't go in, assassinate a dictator or whatever like this.
Right.
You have to
get some sort of...
in a world of democracy.
Like, in quotes, democracy. Yes. You have to get some sort of popular will of the people to go in and invade somewhere.
Yes.
We are running out of time on this topic, but we can go a little bit long.
Okay. Yes, let's do it.
Because the setup was long.
Yeah.
And we only have 4.5 minutes for each topic, so.
Yeah.
But our so we need the public will of the people in this faux democracy in order to go in and invade. And there's been a lot of suspect information having to do with North Korea. Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't North Korea, isn't that where that horrible dictator is building up nuclear weapons, and all of the people that live there are like a couple feet shorter than they're supposed to be because they're starved and malnutrition, and they fucking run over musicians with tanks for watching pornography and all this stuff.
Okay. North Korea is bad, first of all. The regime in North Korea is evil. That is not an excuse for us to overstep. At least this is me speaking, my own personal thing. I have respect, at least for now, for the way that nation states exist in the world.
Yes.
Only because we have to. This
is a big deal, and respect is more than just we don't invade them. It's also we have, as America, we have a global platform. All of our news is seen everywhere.
Yeah.
Our public opinion is the public opinion globally. So no matter if you're in Australia, if you're in Israel, if you're in Africa, if you're in Germany, people in America. You're talking to people in America. American public thought is, in my opinion, global, is sort of the global thought. So, just that being said, we can influence a lot and we can signal a lot just by what we have going on in CNN and NBC and Fox News and Associated Press and all this other stuff.
I think what we need to do is, sorry to interrupt, we need to have a full-on special episode for this, because this is such a huge topic. There's no way. It's an amazing video. There's no way we can cover all of this within the time, because we do have to keep moving. But
all right, let's keep moving.
Okay, stay tuned, folks. We will get back to the ideas of political agendas globally. That's such a huge thing.
Yeah.
It'll be
a recurring thing, and I guess we'll have to do another video. But
yes. Okay. So next topic we're talking about. Do you want to go on to the elections? Are we talking about Florida and Arizona?
Yeah. So this is your topic, right? So all I know about is the Andrew Gillum, I think is his name,
Andrew
in Florida.
Gillum, yeah.
In Florida, and that one is a doozy. I'm digging it.
Yeah, very first ever black person, right, to be selected as the nominee to be governor of Florida.
Of Florida,
Yeah, huge deal. People were not expecting this one at all. It kind of just came out of not necessarily nowhere, but I mean, it's Florida,
It did. I think it did. I was shaking my head, but I mean, you guys can't see it, but it did come out of nowhere. Yeah, that's why Henry hesitated. To me, it came out of nowhere. To Henry, it came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting it. It's ridiculous. That's why I was shaking my head. It's like, yo, you can't really comprehend it. I don't know if he was the first black nominee. I'm not sure, but it seems right. It seems it's probably right. I think I've heard that before. It's just that everything he stands for is super progressive, and it's Medicare for all. I think he stands for free college. Hey.
Do you want to do this?
Yeah.
It's just so we can get that sort of. We'll put it down here.
Sure, and then move the. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Let me transition this, and we are live video style. Okay, just so you guys can see us and our facial expressions. So I was hesitant to put our video up first, but here we go. Whatever.
Yeah,
okay,
whatever.
So that's us.
It is a big whatever burger. So
it's there. You get more out of seeing the.
Yeah, all my friends want to see. All my friends want to see my face.
Yeah. Okay. So we're here. Whatever. So, anyways, going back to what we were talking about, we have Andrew Gillum down in Florida, and came out of nowhere.
It just so I'm thinking that I've never heard. I mean, from what I've heard, Florida is both extremely racist and extremely progressive. I think they sort of have no choice but to be progressive, but they're also the deep South, from what I keep hearing. So I've never been there, but it makes sense to me that they would have Andrew Gillum as one of their prime contenders for governor. Seeing as how he's so progressive and stuff, and the guy who's there now, I forget his name, but he's steeped in controversy. The governor, Rick Scott,
Yeah, Rick Scott. Yeah, and Rick Scott's got a history.
Yeah, he's got a horrible history, and and he's super Republican. And I don't think that's what Florida needs. I think, in terms of Miami and everything else, Andrew Gilliam has like a great track record of the stuff that he's done. He's like was mayor of Tallahassee, I think. I think we should go a little bit long for this one, or at least use Arizona as another topic because
Yes.
we're running out of time.
100%. So moving from Florida, so Florida was the big switch up. Arizona was what we were expecting. There was kind of like there's so many things going on in Florida. The first thing that I consider to be great news is the fact that our good friend Sheriff Joe Arpaio is not in anymore. He lost in that primary, and fucking thank the Lord, man, that like this guy's not a contender anymore.
Yeah, see, I didn't hear about that, but that is great news.
Yeah, Joe Arpaio was in there, and
yeah, that guy's such a fucking douchebag. Yeah. But it is funny if you want to check it out. There is a really good Sacha Baron Cohen interview with him where he says he wants to give Trump a blowjob. And it's hilarious.
Go check that out. It's really funny. Okay. Anyways, going back to Arizona, we have senator's race, which is really important. Probably more important than governor, I would say. We have, I forget who the Republican is on this. I'm gonna pull this up.
Did you pull it up?
Versus Cinema. Yeah, I got it right here actually.
Yeah, because I don't know the detail. The Andrew Gilliam thing was awesome, and also vote for Andrew Gilliam. If you're in Florida, vote for him. Even though we have 2 followers, both of you guys, if one of you guys is in Florida, vote for him for the general election.
Yes. Okay. So, actually, Arizona senators, that's a huge deal. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, to fill McCain's spot?
McCain, yeah. Okay. And we have the other guy who was talking shit on Trump as well, who released that book earlier. What was his name? Who's not running. He announced that he's not running. Arizona Senator. Jeff Flake. That's what it was.
Oh.
Yeah, Jeff Flake.
Yeah, that guy.
So Jeff Flake is not running. So we have 2 senators up for
True.
open spots this year.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So this is for one of the spots. It comes down to this lady, McSally. And she originally was a Trump skeptic. And I believe... we'll have to revise this if I was wrong. But she started going towards the Trump camp, and that's how she got a huge following. What we have on the other side is Kristen Sinema, who is super moderate. Gets a lot of votes in Arizona because she's like super center. But that's who the Democrats are putting up now.
Wow, you know what? I sort of feel a little bit betrayed by that because it's almost
Sinema,
having a moderate Democrat is almost like having Jeff Flake. It's just like, I feel like if the whole entire party shifts a little bit more to the left, then maybe a moderate wouldn't be so bad. But as it stands now, I mean, to me, the Democratic Party is already a right-wing party. So to me, another moderate is sort of like, pissing in the barrel. It's just like, eh.
Okay, well, damn. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, better than a Republican. Yeah. And even Jeff Flake, even though he was also thought of, I guess, as a quote-unquote maverick because he disagreed with Trump, he sort of agreed with Trump mostly because he voted with Trump mostly.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, I'm sort of like...
Okay, so much. We will follow this in the weeks that come. We're going to see how the whole election plays out. November's going to be nuts.
Yeah, and Arizona...
Yeah.
Arizona's another one of those places where it's like, they're Republican, but also sort of, they're not Republican in some ways too. I mean, there's a lot of immigrants in Arizona.
Have you been to Arizona before?
I have once when I was young.
And did you see, or where did you go in Arizona? Because
I went to Tempe. Tempe. My aunt and uncle live in Tempe.
Dope. Yeah, I've been to Tempe. I've been to Chandler. All the surrounding areas around Phoenix. That's the only experience that I have. But they have like huge like Native American reservations, and they have huge like, I don't know, it's rough. My time in Phoenix, I saw a lot of Trump supporters there, but that was also when I was there. So I don't know, man. Who knows?
Yeah, I think
Arizona's weird. We'll see.
I think, to be honest, like Arizona, if they made the argument right, it could turn into a progressive or a democratic state very easily.
Yeah.
But I think it's just more that southern border, Texas, New Mexico vibe where it's...
New Mexico's surprisingly liberal, I would say.
Well, and so maybe that furthers the argument that Arizona could become liberal because
it's the minority vote. Register to vote.
You know, to be honest, I feel like a lot of these places, if we just made the argument about the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, if we just made a Second Amendment argument for Democrats, you know, where we appealed to Republicans, I feel like those guys would be okay. You know, I feel like we need to...
Where it's sort of single issue deals.
Yeah,
the NRA has hijacked a lot of people that they shouldn't have.
I feel like the Arizonans that are Republican are like the Bundy crew, the Ted Bundy crew, which probably makes up more of Arizona than I think it does. But yeah, maybe small town Republicans. Anyway, we got to move on.
We hit our 10-minute mark here.
Yeah.
For that topic. We will come back, and I guess that's a sign that throughout the whole month of November, we're going to be having to talk a lot about...
I'm so down. The other thing, I really am enjoying doing this podcast, but another thing for me that I want to mention to you guys is that we're going to be doing this weekly. So we're going to try and have it out as long as we don't have conflicts with our jobs and with our, you know, whatever else that we're doing. We're going to try and get this out to you guys once a week so that we can vent about politics and music, and hopefully we get some response from whoever's watching this shit, which should be a lot of people. So,
dope. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the federal wage?
Yeah. So Trump, as far as I know, I don't know any of the specifics on it, but Trump said he wants to stop federal pay raises, which is like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard because, you know, it's you're gonna stop the pay raises in the federal government. You work in the federal government. You can't just run it like a fucking corporation.
Yeah, right. It's the whole idea that you have to get into the machine to change the machine kind of deal. And
it's super funny to me. I'm not sure, maybe I have the timeline wrong or maybe some of my facts are wrong on this, but didn't he just lose a battle over like right to work or anti-union stuff against federal employees? Like he tried to fuck over unions, federal work employees unions, and then he got fucked in the courts. And the thing that I think is most funny about this is that what's gonna happen when he denies a pay raise to somebody who really fucking deserves it?
Yeah.
Right? And they're unionized because he couldn't do anything about that. You know, like, I'm like,
He's getting himself into, I mean, you have to pick and choose where you're putting your energy towards. Battles and stuff. And
that's a huge thing with Trump. Is like
a huge thing.
It's like he's not battling wisely at all. He's battling in the dumbest ways.
Or is he? Is he doing what his voters want? Is he living up to his promises?
Yeah, but I mean that. I sort of see what you're saying. I guess a lot of Trump
supporters. Even if he loses, at least he fought and he's a fighter.
Yeah, they want smaller government.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the libertarian argument, if I understand correctly, is that they want smaller government, so I guess wage increases is a bad thing to them for federal employees, but it doesn't really make sense because when you think about it, that would have nothing to do. I mean, if government is smaller, then theoretically you could have more pay raises. So maybe, if they're not just what's superficial about it, then maybe they'll see that this has nothing to do with whether government is big or small. This has to do with them giving tax breaks to billionaires and stuff like that. And now they don't have enough money in the budget, and it's so sad for Trump. Sarcastic. That's sarcasm.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
It is not at all sad. People should get paid, and it's a metaphor for America in general. The CEO of the corporation, the president of the company, whatever you want to say, they're not giving raises to their employees. In fact, wages have been stagnating for years. So people are adding an extra job to their life, which is completely unfair, completely unreasonable. People should have a living wage. Federal employees, at that is like almost, to me, it seems like a last stand, because what president in their right mind would slash funding to their own employees, especially,
when you're high enough up that you're not the person doing the payroll.
Yeah,
he's just like he's just so far detached is what it comes down to. And okay, do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
I just want to...
It's super petty, too.
It's super petty.
Okay.
Oh my god, there's... we can rant.
So, what's the next thing?
Next thing is a news story that piqued my interest just because, it's not political. It's a incident, I guess, that happened. So in Texas... I was not just texting here, I was looking at my phone to pull up the specifics so I don't get it wrong.
Okay.
There's a place called Montgomery County, Texas. Let me see what town. It's not even a town, it's a county. So
I just sent him nudes too,
area.
so I sent him dick pics, so
Yes.
That's also why he's checking his phone.
Yeah, hence the look on my face when I read that. But okay, so imagine this. Do you know that some houses have those like camera doorbells now? Where if you go up and ring on it, there's a camera that starts recording so that you get it on your phone.
I didn't know that, but that's smart.
So people who have smart homes can see who's at the doorbell from their phone, and it records too. So for security, whatever. Imagine this: you're sitting in your house and it's like 1 a.m. You got work the next morning, and then your phone starts buzzing because there's somebody ringing the doorbell, and you see a woman. Okay, so you see a woman at the doorbell. She's only wearing a t-shirt, so she's naked except for the big pajama t-shirt, and she's got handcuffs on. What do you do?
Wow.
You see that?
Wow.
And then she's currently at your door. She's only wearing a t-shirt. She's got handcuffs on.
Oh man.
I don't know, call the cops, right?
I would probably call the cops.
Yeah. Turns out the first person she knocked on didn't call the cops on time, I guess, or they didn't come in time. And she went through and she knocked on 5 different people's doors, desperately, help, help. She's got handcuffs on, shackles, all this shit. And people were freaking out about it. It made local news. She disappeared. And then the article that I saw, the time that I saw it, was already case closed. The police found her, and here's what happened. She,
Was it an abduction?
No. She was sadly a victim of domestic abuse, so her husband was beating her.
Oh, wow.
However, actually, wait, no, not even however. Her husband was beating her and she escaped, is what happened. It just so happened that the shackles that she was wearing were, the sexy kind, the kind that people use for sex.
Oh.
So that added the whole extra sort of element to the story. But
yeah.
In short,
That
she
sort of
is
makes
okay.
sense.
They identified the guy.
That's good.
He's in major trouble, and she is safe. I don't know if they disclosed her name. I hope they didn't. But okay. So that's the story.
Okay.
Women ringing on doorbells. If you get a smart home, know that you might see some weird shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean, domestic violence, never okay. Never okay. Not unless it's consensual and you have a safe word, in which case it's extremely okay.
In which case it's not domestic violence, it's
Sex. Awesome.
Because we're
sex.
liberal. Okay, next topic.
It could be bad sex.
How are we
too,
doing on
just
time? Are we good on this one?
Yeah, we're good on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was under. Alright. Under, no pun intended, sex pun. Alright. So the leader of Hezbollah, I think his name is Nasrallah, something Nasrallah. He said that, let me look this up. He said that the Israeli military is weak, right? And his point, which was, okay, so this is from Haaretz. Nasrallah is right. Israelis no longer want to fight, right? Which is true. And what I saw about it, which was a video on one of my favorite news networks, which is The Real News. They're on YouTube, and they're based out of Baltimore. They were talking about it, and basically what Nasrallah was getting at was that Israelis aren't fit to invade any sort of country. Their military is weak, and it's because what they've been fighting since the first Intifada is Palestinians, and it's only been about colonization. So when you're fighting an enemy who's not fighting you back, and you're just drone bombing them, and you're just sniping them, and it's kids that you're sniping and journalists and stuff, your military is going to come to expect that, and people aren't going to want to lose their lives over a real conflict, like an invasion, and what they also said, which I thought was a good point, is that Israelis now have become somewhat entitled to their Israeli land, and I don't mean that in a bad sense of entitlement. It just means that they don't feel like they need to be fighting war. And this whole thing it's sad because it's built on a false pretense. It's built on this colonization, which is exactly like America, exactly like what we did to Native Americans, and slavery, and the people there, they've come to expect it, and they're not willing to fight like the last generations, which were more so involved in a personal conflict. This generation, it's not personal for them. It's more so just what they see on the news. There are big walls that are protecting them from seeing that many Palestinians.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not.
That's a good point.
You're not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the whole concept that, like, you have new generations coming up that are living in a world where, I mean, of course, everybody that's living there, I would hope, knows the historical context of what's happening around them. But the whole idea that, is this my war? Is this mine to fight?
Right, and their whole situation is a lot. It's like built on a lot of lies. Like Palestinians aren't really a threat to them. When you look at the numbers, they're not a threat.
And fighting you, and it ultimately does come down to numbers. Is like
yeah.
And it's not to say that one side is necessarily right over the other. It's just the fact that, like,
Yeah,
it's just sort of,
it's time for definitely Israel to lay off the Palestinians, to advocate for peace. It doesn't, like, you don't need this pissing contest of, well, Palestinians said this, they say they want to kill all Jews. Because, okay, if Palestinians are saying that, it's because you're colonizing them. Okay? People, they're nowhere on the globe do people want to be at war with any other human being.
It's that paradox of like, it's too late is what I would say. It's this paradox of like, come on, man, like, lay off me. Okay, so Israel saying like, yo, we can't, give up anything because we're gonna get fucked. But the Palestinians being like, dude, you guys have been fucking us this whole time. And like, there's no, but you can't, neither side is gonna give up. And that's the rule of war, is that you never give up anything,
Well, and in my personal opinion, I'm Jewish and I've been to Israel. I know Israelis and all this other stuff. In my personal opinion, there's a lot more damage that's been done to Palestinians, period. If there was a war at all at any point, Israel went way further than winning. They went way past the goalposts. And to a point where it's really sad and really destructive and really just evil. And I think that Palestinians deserve, I mean, what are they asking for? They're asking for clean water. They're asking for sewage to not be in their ocean that they swim in their beach. They're asking to not be constantly bombed and sniped out of nowhere. And so I think we should be able to respect that, period. End of story, period. All right?
Peace. We need peace in the world. That's what we need.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So, and then we can look at nitty-gritty stuff. But when my parents actually met in Israel, and my dad, he's talked to me a lot about, he used to live in Jerusalem, and he would go to East Jerusalem, and this was just in the 80s. Like, he used to go to East Jerusalem and chill with Palestinians. Like, they're friends. And in this sense, I think we would be able to chill as Americans with any Iraqi, with any Venezuelan, with any Russian. Like, people don't want war.
People just want to chill, honestly.
Yeah.
And everywhere that I've been, is like, people just want to chill. That's the only thing.
It's true.
Not everybody, but
most people.
If chilling gets in the way of achieving your agenda, you don't want to chill. Other than that, everybody just wants to chill.
I would even go out on a limb and say that there are a lot of people in the Taliban that I could probably end up
chilling with.
I don't think, I'm not saying that they would agree with me on, whatever X, Y, and Z issues. But I think that in general, I mean, look at it, like Saudis, they come to America all the time. And when you look at the actual Saudi regime, like, you see how evil that stuff is, how it would seem incongruent to anything that we do as Americans. It would seem like they would have it out for us. It would seem like they would berate us as horrible people and say that we need to be shot dead in the middle of the street. But it's just not true. I mean, Saudis come to America and they party, just like everyone else.
They're just trying to chill.
They buy up New York apartments. I mean, it's like,
oh yeah,
it's ridiculous. So
shouts to the people of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Would you like to touch on our last topic?
Yeah, but also we're gonna do Michael Cohen, or we?
Oh, we skipped that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Michael Cohen. This is a big deal. Huge news coming out of Washington this week. The Michael Cohen deal. Michael Cohen, the fixer, so-called fixer of Donald Trump, who has been willing to go and protect the president's name, no matter what it takes. He went into court
and was charged with 18 different things, right? They found him guilty on 8 out of 18, I want to say. One of them being...
Did he plead guilty or
pled
was
guilty.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, do you think he came up with like a plea deal, or do you think it was like?
Good question. I don't know. You can find that by googling it.
All right, let's just assume that he's actually guilty, though. Let's just, for the sake of argument.
For the sake of arguments, let me get the specifics though.
Because none of us are pro-Trump, and we all want to see this motherfucker go down, even though Mike Pence is not looking good. But,
Oh, okay. Google it. First thing I see, Michael Cohen and Trump did, all caps, not violate campaign finance law, despite Cohen's guilty plea. They did not.
Well, there you go. What news source is that from?
Fox News.
Oh, okay. Okay, so funny.
Yeah. He's going to prison.
Good for not doing anything, apparently.
52-year-old. That's
wow.
That's it's so dramatic. The whole thing about it.
Our whole state of
holy shit.
Political affairs in this country is just sad at this moment in time. I don't know what's what. Everything's sort of funny and depressing at the same time, so it's fun. It's a fun time to be alive.
It's one of those things where it's so easy to just get caught through like scrolling through everything about this. But okay, Michael Cohen is guilty. Long story short, he paid Stormy Daniels to not speak about what happens. She fucked Trump, basically. Literally. We'll talk about fuck Trump, but...
Didn't she have, like, an abortion, too?
I don't know.
There's this artist who spray paints that everywhere, and apparently we're supposed to hate that guy because...
Okay. That's totally, like, the context of that is so weird. Street art, graffiti, local tagger. Your famous Dirty Knuckles. Everywhere you walk in Washington, D.C. is spray painted with "fuck Trump" on it.
Right, but fuck that guy, Dirty Knuckles, because...
But fuck him. I don't know. I know him, actually, but it's like, it's... There's reasons, the whole thing. You can't paint over other people's... We should have a thing on street art sometime.
Let's do it.
We should start cataloging some of the dope stuff that we see.
Yeah, we'll put up pictures on our next podcast or something.
Yeah.
We'll have some graffiti.
Yeah.
We're going to make this a multimedia...
Yes, we'll make it a multimedia. Dapique is a multimedia site. However, going back to the point before I lose it, the whole thing about Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is guilty of campaign finance violations by paying Stormy Daniels to influence the outcome of the election. But it's a known fact that it's not his decision. It was Trump that directed him to do that. Right? So that's a known fact. That's established. Right?
Okay.
Michael Cohen's lawyer tweeted, so not Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen's lawyer tweeted, if Michael Cohen was found guilty of this, why is the president not,
Wait, wasn't this a controversy though? Because no, he said something as a source to CNN, and CNN broke the story, but then CNN was caught lying about it because they couldn't corroborate the source, and then Michael Cohen's lawyer later denied that he had heard that Trump actually knew about it. So I think it's still up in the air. If he pled guilty, he could still be going to jail though, which is this whole thing is just convoluted. Who would have thought? I mean, nobody really cares about him paying off Stormy Daniels, even if he did.
I mean, first of all, that's a terrible thing to do. It's like take responsibility for your actions.
I agree with that.
But he's not in a position to where he's gonna do it.
Right.
He can do it, but he's not gonna do it.
And to me, that's the least of what I would care about in terms of Trump. I mean, dude's clearly involved in some mafia shit, clearly involved in I mean,
it's so messy, man. Like,
to me, what's really important. Oh man, we've been going over on time.
We're ranting on this
everything, but to me, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like that. It came down to this. Like, we couldn't even get him on the fucking emoluments clause, which I think actually is still there. There is still they did still sue for that, so that's yet to be seen.
Something's coming.
But I mean, emoluments. That's clear. He's in clear violation of that.
Yeah. It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter.
The Stormy Daniels thing to me is it's nothing.
But he directed her to violate campaign finance. It's like totally a legal sort of deal.
Yeah.
Where like it doesn't matter the action, but legally.
But he's been shorting. Like, to me, a bigger deal is that he shorted paying the immigrants or whoever was building his hotels. He shorted them on paying them. That, to me, is a much bigger deal for a president of the United States than paying off Stormy Daniels, to be honest. And it's unclear to me, like, was it just sex, or didn't she have, like, an abortion or something like that? Wasn't
No
it?
clue. I don't know.
Oh my god, this thing is so...
And, and anything that sort of come out of that story, it's whack. The one thing that's, I mean, politically speaking and legally speaking, depends on how the election goes, but if some fucking miracle happens, I don't know the whole Senate predictions and specifics, but if Dems get the House and the Senate, then he's gone.
Definitely.
For sure, like, if Dems get the House, which is probable, I think, he'll get impeached, but...
I don't know though, because to be blatantly honest, the way that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, the respective minority leaders of the House and the Senate...
Oh, Chuck's down.
Well, yeah, I mean, but... So Nancy's not... She's been saying a lot of nothing about it, and she says it's not a priority. I think Chuck would be down, but I think Chuck's going with whatever way the wind is blowing, and by that I mean money. I think he can be influenced so fucking easily that it's not solid,
I don't know.
and it should be solid. Like, to me, if I'm in Congress, this shit is almost like gang warfare, and like the Republicans have been pulling so much bullshit out of their ass. I mean, the fact that they wouldn't for the nomination of what's their name, Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland's from Obama.
That whole thing, I would be bitter about that whole thing. I would be pissing on the Senate floor. Like,
it's totally like, yeah.
It's like I would just I mean that. It's just awful. Like,
it's politics, though. That's straight politics.
But it's money. It's money politics, though. It's not like they're not actually in a battle for the American public's best interest. They're really just in it for the money, which is politics as far as we know it since like the 60s.
Yeah.
But that whole thing needs to change. So. But that's politics as we know it right now in America. So.
It is, yeah, money. It'll keep happening. It'll keep stacking up until revolution, I suppose.
All right, so the last story. We're on the last story.
We are on the last story of the night.
Okay, so this is a good story that I really like. I mean, it's a sad story, but
it's a story I don't know too much about.
Okay, so TeleSur, they are the national media of Venezuela, but they're also what were the other countries that are involved? It's like Bolivia, Cuba, maybe Argentina is involved.
TeleSur is a multi-state funded Latin American terrestrial and satellite television network headquartered in Caracas, Venezuela. It is sponsored primarily by the government of Venezuela, but also by Cuba, Nicaragua, Uruguay, and Bolivia. So
Right.
we're in it. You've got these non-imperialist governments that are also funding this television network called TeleSur.
Yeah, and they kicked off one of my favorite shows, which is The Empire Files by Abby Martin. Which, okay, they didn't kick it. They didn't. Nobody kicked anybody off. Okay, what happened was, America hit Venezuela with these crazy, ridiculous sanctions that were crippling. And one of the things that was in the sanctions was they stopped allowing wire transfers from Venezuela to come to America, which meant that Abby Martin couldn't do her show called The Empire Files. The Empire Files, what is it? You might be asking. The Empire Files documented the global reach of American imperialism. So they had dope shows about all different aspects. They had shows about Venezuela. They had shows about Israel. They also had this really interesting show about lobbyists, which was all about how they used transparency in government as a bait and switch. So in saying that they wanted transparency in Congress, they used to have these closed door meetings, but the only person that they really opened the door to in these meetings between the committees, the committee meetings, they opened the doors to lobbyists. That's who they opened the doors to. So all this transparency meant nothing. And when you see this legislation that came out of these committees, it was all written by lobbyists. You can't understand anything in any of the bills anymore because of this push for transparency, this push for open doors, the revolving door to the lobbyists. They intentionally make it hard to read, hard to understand. They make these bills super long, saying absolutely nothing, but they have these weird loopholes that companies can take advantage of. It's written into the bills, and so you have like the what was that bill that came out in the Bush administration? The big one that had to do with national security.
Homeland Security, or
No, the Patriot Act, right? But they had a whole bunch of ag-gag laws written into it, which have nothing to do with national security, which have nothing to do with patriotism in general. It's about, you can't, like, the provisions had to do with people not being able to photograph the meat industry, basically, the agriculture, the businesses and stuff. You're not allowed to go into like a pig farm and take pictures anymore. How fucking 1984 is that shit? It's ridiculous. It's like, but you put it in a bill that's called the Patriot Act, and nobody can read all those pages.
Nobody's reading it.
And even if you did read it,
yeah.
even if you did read it, it doesn't make any sense because it's written in this weird doublespeak and this weird, legal speak. So you need a fucking degree in the first place in order to read it.
That's another project I want to sort of get started on. This is like we'll pull up some bills that are like BS. We'll call it bullshit bills or something like that.
Yeah.
And just go through the like legalese behind all of it, and be like, okay, and this line says this, and this line says this, but why is this here? And
yeah.
That's a good.
Okay, so wrapping up, I think this is the perfect segue to just wrapping up. Okay, to finish up, I would say definitely check out the Empire Files by Abby Martin. It's still up on YouTube and everything like that. And donate to them and whatever because they need all the help that they can get. But first check it out because it's awesome. But in closing, for us, all right. So we got a lot more content on the way. This is just the beginning for Dapique News Podcast. We're gonna try and do something on a weekly basis, but we're really unpredictable because we're awesome. So fuck everyone else, and we're awesome.
Oh my god, that's so weak. Okay, you guys watching this first episode are watching.
No, this is the third episode. Oh yeah, I wanted to say too. So we started out this podcast as we were gonna do commentary, like DVD commentary for congressional hearings. And the first hearing we did, the Strzok hearing in Congress talking about Russiagate. Before we even started it, we didn't really realize it was 8 hours long.
We beefed it.
And we can't really do a podcast for 8 hours. So we decided to just do a normal podcast about news and stuff. So we're still sort of searching for what we're doing for this podcast. But no matter what, it's going to be awesome because it's my boy Henry, and we just talk all the time about music. We talk all the time about politics, right? But we talk about other stuff too, and we want to interview people. We want to, be part of our community. We want to show off what we do.
And this right here, Dapique.com. Currently not live, but it's coming soon with some great content creators that know what they're talking about. Great stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, and we're about to have a bunch of stuff on Dapique.com. And they're bankrolling us, and they don't really have a bankroll, so
basically,
we're being bankrolled by just life.
Yeah,
we're dank.
Isn't that a wacky effect? Okay, cool. We have hit our hour mark. We have got to say goodbye, but thank you all, beautiful people of the world and America, for listening, tuning in. Catch up with us next time, and
keep it classy.
Keep it classy. To the peak. All right, dudes. Peace.